welcome back to Happiness by Habit, the podcast where we uncover the little habits and big ideas that help us live more joyfully every day. I am your host, Silvana Pimentel, and today I am very excited to welcome a truly dynamic guest, Damilare Adeyeri. For nearly 20 years, Damilare has graced international stages as a dance instructor, fitness presenter, guest speaker, workshop trainer, and much more. His work spans corporate events, educational institutions, and government establishments, all delivered with passion, precision, and a commitment to igniting joy in every setting. Damilare's inspiring speaking topics include facing fear with joy, finding joy in the journey, and his signature 7 steps to living joyfully. He also shares insights on unlocking the power of joy for business success, exploring the dance of leadership, and unleashing energy and productivity through movement. Today we're going to dive into how movement and dance can transform our mindset, elevate our leadership, and infuse our daily lives with joy. Damilare, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to share with your listeners how we can use movement to increase our energy and boost our mood and productivity.
I love that. And I've seen you in a stage before, and it's so exciting how energetic you are and how you take over with your signature action, which is the movement. Please tell us a little bit more about that. You've been dancing and inspiring people for almost 20 years. Can you share with us what initially drew you to dancing and how that passion evolved into a career?
Actually, yes. So I like to use the word joyful movement or music-led movement rather than dancing, because when a lot of people hear dancing, they're like, oh my gosh, no, I can't dance and things like that. So joyful movement or music-led movement. So I grew up in the Yoruba culture of Nigeria, where music and movement, right, is a big part of our culture and celebrations. Whether you're going to a naming ceremony, a birthday ceremony, a burial ceremony, any kind of celebrations in the church, at home, in community settings, music and movement, is really part of the culture. So I was already introduced into that. Then within my household, my mom loved music. Like I remember my mom put in a lot of money into buying cassette tapes, and we'll be in the car on the ride and she's jamming the music and she's enjoying it. And so already, that environment nurtured that joy and affinity to movement for me. And so the more I grew up, the more I also grabbed that and started to lean into it. And now let's just say, throughout different key points in my life, the opportunity kept showing up. And the passion kept growing and calling me to step into it. And I did.
I love that story. And I can relate to that because I am originally from Peru. So in the Hispanic community, that's very natural for us. Everything evolves about music, at the parties. There is a lot of dancing related to that. And it is always also related to very happy memories. So I love that. Very nice.
Right. Yeah. So, again, and I think, not that I think, it is true. A lot of the Latin culture, too, has the influence of Africa, the people who were brought from the continent of Africa to Latin America. So, absolutely, we share a lot in common.
Absolutely, we do. We have this incredible framework called the 7 Steps of Living Joyfully. Can you give us a quick overview of these 7 steps? And perhaps dive deeper into 1 or 2 that resonate most with your personality?
Absolutely. So I use the word joy because joy is deeper, right? And sometimes, people say joy or happiness or things like that. And for me, living joyfully isn't just about the occasional burst of happiness, right? It's about cultivating an enduring sense of contentment and fulfillment that goes into every aspect of our lives. And so when I say 7 steps to living joyfully, one of it is practicing gratitude, right? So regularly acknowledging the things that you're grateful for can significantly boost our joy. Now, it's not minimizing the experiences in your life that are unpleasant. It is looking for the joy in every day so that you can celebrate that, because where we focus our attention grows. It's like one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, would say, where focus goes, energy flows. And so once we can find those things in our life that we can be grateful for, it expands that, right? So that's the number one. The number two is mindfulness and presence, engaging fully in the present moment every time. You and I are here together, Silvana. And for me right now, nothing else matters, right? So I'm here in the moment, present with you. And there are many more ways we could practice that mindfulness and presence, right? Like meditation, deep breathing. And I'm just going to pause and invite everyone listening to us right now to just take a deep breath in and out. And just doing that alone helps us slow down and be present in the moment, right? And in everything we're doing, time with family, our walk, our work, or even walk, right? Helps us savor the now, and it helps us reduce stress because it helps us go to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is more rest and digest, right? So number two. Number three, which is my favorite, is connecting with others, right? So connecting with others, building and nurturing meaningful relationship is essential for joy. When we spend quality time with people we love, we engage in deep conversations, not just surface level conversations, and we show kindness and appreciation. That's a big part of living joyfully. Number four, pursue your passions, right? Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's a hobby, a creative endeavor, volunteering, making a difference, doing what we love can definitely enhance our sense of purpose and, in this case, happiness. Number five is physical activity. So regular exercise. And I say this a lot of times when I'm invited on the stage to speak. When we move our body, it releases endorphins, which is the happy hormones, right? And when you break down the word endorphins, it's actually internal. Endorphins is from the word morphines. So they're natural mood lifters, they're natural painkillers that our body releases. So when we do physical activity, we actually release that endorphins. And then again, when we do it in community with other people, then we get the other effects, right? We get the dopamine, we get the serotonin, we get oxytocin, which are all neurotransmitters released by the brain that contribute to making us feel good. Number six is cultivate positivity, right? And so it's very easy to get into a negative spiral, right? And so when we surround ourselves with positive influences, like listening to the Happiness podcast, Happiness by Habit podcast, or positive influences of the people, books, inspiring books, motivational content, practicing positive self-talk. Some people call it affirmations, some people call it incantations, whatever it is. Just cultivating a habit of positivity helps us be in what is called a resourceful state. Because feel good, do good, right? When there's positivity around us, then we can see clearly and have that mental clarity to do the things that are difficult because we have been able to tap into that positivity. And the last but not the least is to embrace simplicity. Right? So simplify our life by just decluttering our physical space and mind and focus on what truly matters, right? Let go of unnecessary stressors. And a lot of people are thinking, okay, well, I'm feeling stressed. And then what they do is add more to their plate. And what they actually need to do is take off from their plate. So for example, feeling stressed at work, family, like navigating with kids and school and everything like that. And they say, okay, well, to boost my mood, to relax, now they add yoga to their routine. They add meditation. They add everything else, but they did not take anything out. So what happened? Now you've expanded your schedule without taking anything out. So when you have a full plate, the first step.
Already, yeah.
It really is to prioritize not to add more. And overall, this 7 steps, they're not like, they're just very simple, practicable steps to allow us embrace joy, nurture it, and let it guide us towards a life that it's really filled with fulfillment, with purpose, and with boundless happiness.
I absolutely love that, and that goes so well with the podcast title, which is Happiness by Habit. And that was going to be my next question, but you kind of already answered. But perhaps you have a couple of extra habits that give you joy. Because happiness in general, I think a lot of people think might be too big of a word, and we should focus on the small moments of happiness. Happiness is really not a state of mind permanent, but it's more like build for little moments of joy that we have, and we can create those with habits. So are there any cool habits that you would like to share with us? Happiness habit.
Yes. So, I said a lot of it in the 7 steps that I mentioned.
Yes.
And the key thing to emphasize is to start small. Make it a simple practicable, repeatable action. Simple, practicable, repeatable action. Because that's how we build the habit, right? So, for example, if it's talking about gratitude, is every night at the end of the evening, just one thing. Write down one thing that you're grateful for, or focus on one thing that you're grateful for. That's very easy, right? That's something you can actually do, and that's something you can repeat. Amidst the chaos of life, we can pause for 1 minute to find one thing that we are grateful for. And the more we do it every day, it becomes a repeatable habit, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is mindfulness. Now, okay, if we don't have 5 minutes in a day to pause, to meditate, there are bigger issues, all right? So let's just assume that you don't have 5 minutes, or you say, oh no, I'm not somebody who meditates, or I cannot quiet my mind, whatever it is. Then I invite people into what I call intentionality. Intentionality is deciding in the moment to be mindful about what you're doing. For example, you're eating. Rather than rushing through the food, at least everybody eats, it's like, okay, the taste. And then just savor the taste. Focus on what it tastes like, what it feels like in your mouth, if it's eating or drinking, or speaking to someone, right? And when you're having a conversation, just for a moment, look at them in the eye and make that connection. That is a minute of mindfulness, right?
Yes.
Look at that smile. That is a minute of mindfulness. Or you're playing with your kids, pay attention to how you're feeling in the moment, right? Those are the kind of habits that help us build happiness, because even though I've given you the 7 steps that include like gratitude and moving your body and connecting with others and physical activity, those are practiced in the micro moments of everyday life. And that's how we build the habit.
I love that very much. And you put it in practice throughout your life. For instance, right before we started the podcast, you told me, let's take a moment. Let me take a sip of water. And then we went on and started like in a very calm, good place, right? That was that. I think little things like that make a difference. Right now, you say, let's take a deep breath and move on. Love those. And those are things that definitely anybody can incorporate into our daily lives. Otherwise, if we don't have a minute extra, we have
One thing
bigger
I'm going to
problems.
say, so I'm glad you caught that. And I think this is a key thing for anyone listening, right? Is do not, well, I shouldn't say do not. It's probably more challenging to try to separate a time to say, oh, I'm going to go meditate, or I'm going to go exercise, right? That's the next level. What is more helpful is how to integrate it into our daily lives, into the things that we're doing. Nothing says in between a meeting, you just say, like I did today, all right, we're just going to pause and take a deep breath. 1 second. All right, we're just going to pause and take a sip of water, right? So when we integrate it into the things we're already doing, then it doesn't feel like an extra step or an extra work to cultivate the habit of being joyful.
I love that. Absolutely. Let's talk about your movement. And you do have a TED Talk, a really beautiful TED Talk, and I encourage everybody to see it, to watch it. It's how to boost your mood, energy, and productivity. Let's talk about that. What is super cool about your TED Talk, and it's different than any other I have seen, and I don't want to spoil it, but I'm going to just give a sneak preview, is that you make everybody stand up and move. That was so cool. Tell us about that, please.
Absolutely. So something I enjoy saying, which is very important, is move to thrive, right? Move to thrive. And when I say move to thrive, it's because when we move our body, it activates all the most important things in our physiology. For example, when we move our body, it increases the heart rate. When it increases the heart rate, it increases circulation, which is blood flowing through the body. Once it increases circulation, it increases oxygenation, which we're breathing more. And what happens is then blood and oxygen flows to the brain, and guess what? We're more awake. And when we're more awake, then it boosts our emotional state, right? And so now, just by moving our body, we have mental clarity, we have an emotional boost, and we have more energy, right? Now, when you look at the hormonal part of it, right? I mentioned it earlier on, which is the neurotransmitters that are released when we move our body, like the endorphins, the dopamine, serotonin, right? The oxytocin, when we move together with other people, that bonding hormone, all of that, those things contribute to a happy mood. Those things contribute to a positive state. And all of those things is really what I was saying in my TED Talk when I talked about it, is the fact that when we move, and I'm not even saying like dance or whatever, just move, music-led movement. And when I use word music-led, is because when music is involved with the movement, music activates the pleasure centers of the brain, which also then contribute to us feeling good in those moments where, oh my gosh, yes. And so now we are associating, right? Our nervous system is associating a positive emotion to a positive energy, a positive state with music, to even the people we're doing it. And overall, that contributes to higher productivity. And when I go to these conferences and I talk to people in the workplace, I said, if your employees or the staff or people in the company can integrate music-led movement into the everyday at work, automatically now the people associate a positive state to the work, to the environment, to the people, and overall that boosts productivity. Very important.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. And I can relate to that also because I love dancing. And when I go to like for Zumba classes or any dance class, really my heart is happy, is warm. I'm so happy and really come back home or to do my next activity in a very happy mood. And so I can definitely attest to the power of music inspired movement or music led movement.
Yes.
I love that. Let's talk about this music inspired movement and leadership. And I have it very clear with all what you just said about the power of this. But how can you express in simple terms what lessons can leaders learn from this music led movement?
So,
Inspiration.
absolutely. Thanks for asking that question. So, I actually call that like the dance of leadership, right? Because in dancing in general, even music-led movement, leadership is much like a dance. The first thing is coordination and timing, right? So moving, dancing, you have to be aware of the music, right? And just like being aware of the rhythm of the music, a leader has to be in tune with the pace and the flow of the environment. And depending on where you work, some work environments are fast-paced, some are much more on a slow pace, but also too, the balance between, as a leader, when do I need to take fast action or when do I need to hold back, observe, and understand the flow of things. All sense of timing, right? So sense of timing is crucial for decision making, ensuring responses are not rushed or not delayed, right? So knowing the difference. And that's exactly how music and movement go together. We're going fast, 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 and then it goes slow, and then fast. So all of that, the way we move is also influenced by the music. And that's what I call the rhythm of leadership, coordination and timing. The second thing is now when you bring a group together to move, even just a simple movement like waving our hands, right? Just like that, leadership involves each being able to coordinate each person to play a bigger role in the narrative. So if we're all moving left to right, and somebody's going right to left, then things are in disarray, right? And so like a leader, basically a leader is orchestrating a team to make sure that each team member is bringing their unique skills towards a common goal, right? And so things like collaboration, working in harmony, it's really essential because all of that is contributing to the team dynamics, right? So coordination and timing, team dynamics, and of course, confidence and presence. When you get to the point in movement where you're performing and when you're on stage, a dancer has to be confident and at the same time fully present in their body, in the movement, and also in communication with the audience, right? And so as a leader, confidence, grace, commanding space, all of that are leadership qualities that are essential. And I use this as a metaphor for that because it's really not about arrogance or anything like that. It's just having a strong sense of self. Just like the dance that commands the stage, a leader must be able to command the room, right? And it's not just through intimidation, but through a grounded, confident presence. And then the last, two more ones I want to add. I want to add posture of authority, right? Actually, no, I just said that. Creativity and problem solving, right?
Okay.
So, exactly. With dance, sometimes, you follow the choreography. Some other times you need to improvise.
Yes.
right? And so it's not about structured steps, it's about the ability to create spontaneously is a very powerful leadership skills. Contingent, things will happen along the way. You have a plan, you're following the plan, but then boom, what happens when things don't go according to plan? As a leader, you have to be able to improvise quickly and adapt. Dancers do that on stage. Something goes wrong with the music, something goes wrong with the costume, the mic, or like just something happens, you
Right.
have to adapt. And so using that as a metaphor for leadership, improvisation is shown in the creativity, right, that a leader solves problems with. Absolutely. And then physical and mental endurance. Like for me, dancers, not just for me, it is true that dancers are also athletes, right? The strength, the physical and mental endurance required to go through training, continuous practice, resilience, dedication. It's important for anyone who is pursuing dance in some way. Similarly, leadership is not a one-time act. It's a journey of continuous growth and learning. And that mental fortitude to be able to face challenges is very important, right? And
That
if I
is
could add
so
a
true.
last one, it is emotional expression. Now, in the corporate world today, many leaders do not support vulnerability or emotional expression. They think it's a weakness. Actually, it is a strength because it allows us to have empathy through which we communicate. Right? So on one end, dance is a form of emotional expression because the music we're moving to also carries emotion. Now, and it communicates like stories and emotions that words alone cannot. Now, effective leaders, they are the ones who are not only attuned to their own emotional undercurrent, but they're also attuned to those of their teams and stakeholders. Call it emotional intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence allow leaders to communicate more effectively, empathize with others, and create deeper connections, starting from building rapport, right? You cannot really build rapport if you've not connected with the other person. And one of the tools of connection is empathy. So when I talk about the dance of leadership, it intertwines, the discipline, the empathy, the communication, the structure, the creativity, the spontaneity, all of that. Because at the end of the day, leadership is influence. And to be able to influence people, we need the skills.
Absolutely. I'm like in awe because all of the things, I didn't realize leadership and dance had so many similarities or things that you can apply to one another. And I think I would like to add that once you do all of these things, it's inevitable to increase productivity, to improve the ROI, and to get happier employees. And so it's all good for everybody. Absolutely.
Without a doubt, because retention is a big issue in many organizations today, right? Where we're talking about a term quiet quitting meaning that people are staying on the job, but they're not as engaged, right? They're not as engaged. They're doing the minimum required to stay on the job to get paid, right? And so using this metaphor of dance, a leader can engage their employees better by emotionally connecting with them, right? By being more creative, by being more compassionate, by understanding coordination and timing and collaboration and adaptation, like all these things that are important in the dance, they're also equally important in leadership.
Absolutely. And that's what true leadership comes about, right? That's very, very
And let me
true.
add that it also reduces costs, right? Because when we're able to retain the employees, then we reduce the cost of employee turnover from recruiting, hiring, training, and also, it also reduces the number of stress, the level of stress, not number of stress for the team. So all around big benefits, ROI, employee retention, employee engagement, and productivity for the company, which is profit. And I know a lot of companies like to hear that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody wins. The employees are happier. The company makes more money. The leaders can thrive. Everybody can thrive. It's a really good thing for everybody. You and I met through this beautiful mastermind group that talks about action over perfection. And I see that you are definitely going for that. And I've seen you in action in many venues. And one of the things I would like to ask you is how do you balance all your different hats? Because I know you have a baby in the house. How do you balance parenthood, your movement, your dance movement, your speaking? Tell me how you manage to do everything and do it right because you're doing an amazing job.
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. Actually, it is true. I have a baby, so I have two kids. My daughter is almost 6. It's going to be 6 in a few days. And my son is 6 months. And then, of course, I'm married. I've been married for 11 years. And so I have my marriage as well as my work. And something that has helped me a lot is to remember two things: prioritize and leverage. So prioritize means in this moment, what is the most important thing that requires my time and attention, and give it my all. Because I can do everything, but I cannot do everything at the same time. And a lot of us are stressed because while we're doing something, we're thinking about the next thing that we need to do, and the next thing, and the next thing. So even in that moment, what we're doing is not getting the full attention of our presence, emotion, time, and resources. So the first key is if we can give each thing time, presence, emotion, and resources, then we move faster, we move better, and we have more quality. Very important. Very important. The second thing is remembering that things can get done not necessarily by us all the time. So where can we leverage? Meaning, where can we delegate? Where do I need help? It's just simply asking for help, right? Okay, so maybe right now I'm here, chatting with you on the podcast, and I'm not able to be with my son. I tell my wife, hey, honey, I have a feature with the podcast. Are you able to, be there with our son for a moment? So we balance each other out, right? And so there are people, in our lives, there are times like, yes, we need to get a babysitter. And that's okay. So it's like leveraging to help you achieve more. Very, very important. So it's that balance between prioritizing and leveraging. And that way, if I said this with the 7 steps to living joyfully, but I'll repeat it now again, is focusing on the things that bring us joy.
That is so important. Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, I move my body. It boosts my mental and emotional state, and I'm able to do more because I'm feeling good. It doesn't feel stressful.
And you are kind of putting together the things that you love because you develop this beautiful movement through dance or through music-led movement. I love it.
Yeah, and focus on what matters, really.
Absolutely. So you wear different hats. What are some things you're working on, and what can we expect from you these coming few months?
Okay, so one is a book. I have a book in the works coming up soon. So
I love it. It totally makes sense. I was just thinking about that. Yeah. I wonder if he is working on a book. Wow, that definitely makes sense. This is going to be a beautiful book for sure.
Yeah, so watch out for that. I actually just came back from Nashville yesterday at a speaking event with the Bloom community. So there are more speaking events coming up. So if anyone listening to this and would like me to be featured in their conference, seminar, on stage, or just a workshop to work with the people on things we've talked about, right? Living joyfully, the dance of leadership and joy, or leadership and movement, boosting your emotion and productivity, increasing your productivity and ROI through an engaged workplace, or even just wellness, definitely I'm available to be booked for events. So reach out to me. And yeah, those are the 2 main things happening right now. And the last thing I would add, actually, which is ongoing, is coaching. So I like that you asked me, how do I balance everything, right? And so I help high achievers spread the success from one area of their life to multiple areas. Because what we find is the people who are successful in business, but their relationship is suffering, right? Or successful in relationship in business, but then they don't have time for themselves, right? And so it's like learning the tools to balance, what would call like the different areas of your life. So I work with people one-on-one for that. And so that's another thing people can reach out for me. So those are 3 core areas: the coaching, the speaking, and of course the movement and the workshops.
Love it. Beautiful. And if people want to get in touch with you, I will say I will put the joyinsideout.com website here on the podcast. Is that the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So my website is Joy Inside Out. So joy from the inside out is www.joyinsideout.com. Yes, people can reach me on that, read more about me, send me an email through that. So that's a great way to reach me. And I'm on different social media platforms. And my social media platforms, I love them because They're a true representation of me, my person. So you find everything there, from me social out dancing to a little bit of my family, to me traveling, to talks about like leadership and movement and emotions and productivity. You can reach out to me through any of those channels. I'll be happy to connect.
Wonderful. And I will also make sure to put your TEDx talk on the podcast so people can take a look and have fun and dance a little.
Yes,
as well.
yes, absolutely. We said we're not going to ruin it for them. We were not going to give them all the details. But I do encourage people to definitely go to YouTube and search for my TED Talk. It's how to boost your mood, well-being, and productivity. I think that's exactly the title, but with my name.
Mood, energy, and productivity.
Yes, that's it. Mood, energy, and productivity. So it's right there. Search TED and TEDx and search my name, Damilare Adeyeri. You will find it there. And it's key because it helps us, it gives practical skills to help us fight stress, elevate our mood, and elevate and uplift our emotional state, which contributes to overall health, wellness, and efficiency in both our personal and professional life. So go check it out.
Will do for sure, and I will watch it again. It's actually one of my favorite TEDx talks. Thank you so much. Very much.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Damilare, it was a true pleasure having you here in the podcast. We really appreciate all the insights and sharing your incredible journey with us. The movement and dance, how it can empower us to lead joyful, dynamic lives. Your journey from dance floor to the boardroom is truly inspiring, and your practical tips are my favorite. Really, really thank you for all that. I'm sure our listeners truly enjoy this episode, and for everybody tuning in, remember that happiness isn't just a destination, it's a journey that we can create through small intentional habits every day. So thank you again for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review, and please share this episode with anybody who might need a little extra joy in their day. Until next time, keep moving, keep thriving, and keep dancing to the beat of our own happy habits. Take care. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta exit this with some movement.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I love it. Thank you.